Hi, welcome to class. We're the only two right now, but the other ones will show up eventually, right? I hate my life. I hate my life. A Professor Sunreis Productions! Hello class, Professor Sunreis here. I hope you guys are okay with that, but I actually topped the regional here in Germany with not Dragon but Voiceless Voice. As you've seen in the last video, I was just not a huge fan of Dragon and I wanted to try something else, and I've only been playing the deck for a week and already topped the regional with it. So I think it was a good call to switch up the deck. I won this beautiful Flavor of the Month rifle playmat, and you know what? I even got one display and I've drawn a low and a Saphira. So it might have been what I needed to do all the time. But anyways, before we go into the actual deck profile, first of all, shoutouts to Team Bozos! Shoutouts to Santiago and shoutouts to Bene from my locals for lending me the whole deck, basically, because my cards haven't actually arrived yet. So without further ado, don't forget to Skull Guardian Pass, no, definitely Seal Pass on the subscribe button. Leave some feedback down below, and let's get right into the video. So before we go into the actual profile, quickly let's go over the matchups I had. First, I played against the Mirror, I won the 2-0. I played against Pure, Snake Eye 2-0 as well, Cash 2-0 as well, and then I played against Cash again. Lovely opponent. The game before was against his girlfriend. Actually, I lost there in the game 3 because I got the nastiest 6-card combo you could ever imagine. Then I played against Branded, 2-1 that. Against Salad, 2-1 that as well. That was probably the hardest match in the whole regional because he played Droplets main, and I got Droplet every time, and the deck kind of struggles against that. And then the last round against Pure Snake Eyes again, and I got 2-1 there as well. Because in game 3 I just bricked and had like a bad hand, but we'll get into that later. But first, or like second I guess, why did I decide to play this deck over like Pure Snake Eyes? I figured with all of the hand trap wars going on right now, this deck feels like it plays the best into 2 hand traps and still consistently do a great board, because if you sequence it correctly and if you draw decent enough, this deck can very easily still go into Skull Guardian plus low on board. You don't need the trap for that exactly, and then still have one hand trap in hand. And then there's no way a Pure Snake Eyes opponent's ever going to win against that, because the Skull Guardian is just way too hard to out after playing through the Omni Negate and Destroy, and then another additional hand trap, because the opponent already probably threw 2 hand traps at you. After that in game 1, Nib is dead basically because you don't go for Dynamo Underline, and then Imperm and Veiler are very, very bad because we have so many outs for them, and they also do very, very little. And then it's only basically Ash in game 1, so the deck had like an insane game 1, and it still has the ability to play 12 hand traps itself in a 42 card deck, and then easily post side go up to 18, 19 hand traps if it wants to. So let's go into the card by card. 42 card deck, I would definitely change that, but we will get to that. I played the Diviner package, of course. It's an insane normal summon. The Trias helps you dodge stuff if you hard draw it, so that's not that big of a deal. It kind of acts like a non-engine at that point. Yeah, felt very, very good. Sadly, I couldn't use the Trias effect to have it as a disruption. Never had the 2 fairies on board to do that, but it's usually very, very cool to normal summon Diviner, send a Trias, and then just keep the Trias in grave and then tribute this for the ritual summon so that you can chain block the access into low, which was very, very important. Speaking about 3 low, then 3 barrier, and for the ritual stuff, 3 Saphira, 3 pre-prep, 2 rituals, and then all of the ritual monsters as well at 2. I figured like this is all mandatory to play. You need to play 2 because otherwise it's a Garnet, or like it is a Garnet basically. And of course you need to play 2 Skull Guardian because sometimes you have to go through 2. You can play 1 Saravis, but I liked it because of all of the targeting negation. Usually sided out. And then these are just the best cards, especially the pre-prep is super, super good because of all of the shifters running around. And it's the only card which lets you play under shifter. So if you have this, you have low, pre-prep, and anything to attribute for that, you have basically full combo on the shifter. That felt very, very good against all of the Cash T-Ross I faced. Sadly, I couldn't get into that. For the bricks, Saravis and Trap drew this way, way, way too much. And this is also another reason why I will be cutting the next thing, not Prosperities, but I did only play 2 because I didn't have the space. I would love to play 3 in the future because I was missing access into low and access into Diviner, and just having like a normal summon to play through hand traps. I was just missing that, so we'll definitely be bumping this up to 3. And then I did play the Branded package, and this is something which I highly doubt I will be still playing in the future, because while this card is really, really good going first, if the opponent doesn't even know that you are on Voiceless Voice, it felt very, very bad post-side because people wouldn't really throw Disruption at it, or they would only throw like the targeting Disruption on it, like a Moonlit, an Imperm, Veiler, and you don't really care about it that much. Yeah, having the access into Mirror Jade cutoff is, it's decent for the opponent, but it's not really something which we care too much about because we want to get our own engine rolling, and this only really helps as the third card in the hand. And at this point, a lot of other cards really help that as well, because if you only have this plus like one other play, you're never gonna be able to play through one hand trap unless it's game 1 and they hand trap Branded Fusion. So this felt very mediocre once the opponent knew what we were up to. Add to that I drew Albaz like 3 or 4 times over the whole tournament, and it just adds additional brick. And I think this isn't really as great. I really liked it in the beginning of the format, or like in the beginning when I played this deck like 1 week ago, because people were still on more drills. But now I only think I got drolled once, and this was like a one-off droll as like a crossout target. So in my opinion, I think the Branded Fusion is overdue, and I don't think I will be playing it in the future. And then main deck, 12 hand traps, the staples of the format. Nip still by far the worst hand trap, but I still think you have to play it just because it's the only thing which is main deck worthy. But in this deck, it's okay because it's tribute fodder, and unironically, I think I resolved this like maybe once, and the other times it was just tribute fodder. So yeah. Extra deck, 2 Dynamonda, definitely play 2, not only because of Unicorn, but I actually went through it twice. Usually you don't want to go into it, because game 1 it opens you up to Nip, and game 2 it opens you up to Ghost Bell. But if you play against a deck like I played against Sell It, where you know that they are on board breakers, I think you have to go for Dynamonda lines. I even got Ghost Build on it, but because I had Soravis, it was fine. Also, I side strike, so sometimes you can go for the Dynamonda line to get both the trap and the spell up, but usually it's too risky to go for. But with more board breakers maybe being played in the future to counter this deck, I think going for Dynamonda lines to get the trap and the spell going is gonna be something which you wanna reconsider. Because right now you don't really go into it a lot. Branded package, I only played the small one, so I disrespected Unicorn basically. But it never came up that the opponent banished it, because they always felt like there was something more important. And yeah, I think I got Mirror Jade banished one, but I didn't draw Branded Fusion then, so it's not gonna happen all too often. So I didn't really mind that much. And even if they banish the Mirror Jade, yeah, you don't get the Mirror Jade, but you can still dump and use the Branded Fusion for something, so it's not the end of the world. For links, 1 Anima, IP Masquerena, SP, and Underworld Goddess. I think I used Anima once, and SP. No, I actually didn't go into an SP at all. Just once Anima. The Entis never used it. Herald used it a bit, especially if you have Trios Hard Draw, if your hand asks for it. Typhon, Chaos Angel, never summoned them. Axel never went to it, but Baron I did summon once. It happens if you Scar Guarding gets impermed, you don't have low access, and you can normal summon like an additional hand trap, like a Bell, a Mourner, especially post-side it comes up more. That you can just make a Baron, sit on that for 1 turn, and then you can tag out the Baron for a Skull Guardian if you top deck like a low or something, or like a Diviner, which you can then now use to get into place. So yeah, I like the extra deck, and you don't really go into it a lot, so you have a lot of flex spots, but you don't really need them, and you don't really use them realistically a lot. The side deck, 3 Mourner, 3 Ghost Bell. I really like them. Ghost Bell feels very good right now. It's good in the mirror. It's good against Branded, which is a bad matchup. And it also feels very good post side, going second against Snake Eyes, because you can hit the Wanted, you can hit the Flame Burst. If push comes to shove and they somehow got full combo and we draw this, we can hit the Princess, even though Princess isn't the greatest disruption against us because it targets. Still think these hand traps were definitely the call. Then I played a Magnamut and a Drew's Worm. I really like the Magnamut. And the Drew's Worm, not so much Magnamut, because it can just search as Saphira or Saravis. So this actually being able to search Engine, and Saphira arguably being the best Engine card, like after low, felt very good. And the Drew's Worm, it was okay, because we are not really a link deck. Getting usage out of the body of the Drew's Worm and the scent isn't really something we can do all too good. But yeah, in the end they are level 6 bodies, so in theory you can go for the Axel line with the Diviner if it gets impermed. I think I would cut the Drew's Worm in the future together with the Branded Fusion and make some space for some more. Then 1 Prosperity on the side and 3 Dark Ruler. I just took this off Steven Santoli's list, where he played 1 Pros on the side and 3 Ruler for the mirror, and I really liked it. Ruler won me the first mirror I was in, because like the endboard just dies to a Ruler. The pop doesn't do enough in the mirror. Even like a pop 2 you don't really care about. Once you got your Skull Guardian established, it's just game. So the deck rulers were insane. Also, they were good against stun in my testing because Dunibuk is completely infested by stun players. And Dark Ruler, even if they go for Morganite and then summon 2 stun monsters, Dark Ruler just deals with their whole board. You don't really care about the back row. So that feels very, very, very good. And then lastly, for going first, 3 Solemn Strike. Also, idea stolen by Steven Santoli, but I stand by that as well. I would have played that as well. I think the floodgates, they open yourself up to losing a few games. Enter-spell, of course, it does that. Summon Limit does it less so, but Summon Limit also doesn't feel the craziest because we are like a 2-card combo deck, and if we get hand trapped to death, the likelihood that we are able to play the next turn isn't all too crazy unless we have barrier established. So a lot of times I was scared that I wouldn't be able to play if I had like a summon limit as my non-engine at going first after being hand trapped to death, especially if we rely on stuff like Brand Fusion to get our plays rolling. It felt bad, and Solemn Strike felt very, very good. It was good against Kashtira and Simplified Game States. It was good against basically everything. It protects our Dynamonda lines, which is something which I valued a lot, especially with board breakers coming a little bit in the main in the side decks against our decks. The Solemn Strike felt very, very, very decent to make Dynamonda lines more viable, and more importantly, being like the best 1-for-1 trade in the game. I thought about playing Solemn Judgment as well, and with Droplet becoming more popular, I might do that. But for now, I think the Solemn Strikes were good enough, and surprisingly, that's it for the deck profile. It's a very, very like helmet deck. It's kind of simple to play. I've never learned a deck as fast as I've learned this deck, and I haven't perfected it, of course. I've only been playing it for like a week and a half now, but it felt very, very good. Seems so good going first into the format, and post side you can play a shit ton of hand traps, and then you just hopefully draw like 3 engine cards and then 3 hand traps, and then you win the game because the deck is so good at doing what it does. And once Skull Guardian is on the board and once low, I've never lost a game, I think, once I had that established. So if you can get into that, you're gonna win. If not, you're gonna lose. Definitely is like the poster child of this format. Kind of Feast or Famine deck in a little. Encapsulated all of the problems we currently have in the format of all of those hand trap wars and all of those non-games and just comparing hands, because sometimes you just hand trap your opponent to death and then you get a Skull Guarding on the board and the opponent immediately scoops. But yeah, that's just the format, and I feel like the deck does that in the format kind of well. Is it the best deck? I still think Snacker's a little better, but I like playing it and I enjoyed it, and it's unironically a Dragon deck because we do have Saphira, so this is Dragon Ritual. But that's basically it for the deck profile. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll definitely still be doing Dragon Link content. Don't be scared. I will just be going with Voiceless Voice for bigger events like regionals, the German Open, German Nationals, which were actually in my home city, and Euros. I'll probably still be playing all of those decks, but I will, like I said, be doing Dragon Link content. Tempai Dragons are coming out. I've been doing a lot of testing with the Dragon Ruler, so I got a few things there brewing up, so definitely stay tuned for that. And without further ado, class is dismissed. You guys are free to leave. Professor Sunreis out. Peace.